You cannot have happiness in your life without being grateful for what it is you're happy. The peace, the love, the joy, the happiness, it all is derived from the place of gratitude. What's up? This is Brad with Be Real. Hey, I wanted to add some time to marinate on this for the past week. Came from a couple different things that I had heard. And what I want to talk about is, and it's a little bit different, like we're going to talk about leadership, right? But these are leadership can apply to parenting. This leadership can apply to friendship. So there's all different aspects of leadership, but it's going to be kind of things, well, right away, and a couple of these might be here that we're going to talk about, might be listening and different things in leadership, be strong, confident, all those things. A couple of these things are on my list, but there's a couple of things I want to talk about that are a little bit different. And I hope you listen till the end because it really resonated with me as I kind of went through this deal. First of all, it's faith. And when I say faith, I'm talking about faith in what you're doing, because you got to remember, if you're leading, that means there's people following you. And if you don't have faith and you don't have direction and you don't have passion about where you're going, it's going to be very, very hard for those people following you also. Keep in mind, I always used to say this, people come in your presence a lot of time and they're completely empty. They're completely void. So you have to be so full of these things that you're actually literally filling a vessel. You're actually literally filling somebody else so that they can go on to do the next thing. But with that faith, you're transferring confidence. You're transferring trust. You're transferring, with faith comes resilience and motivation. So faith is a huge thing. Always a spiritual faith is a good thing, but I'm talking about faith in what you're doing, being prepared for what you're doing, believe in what you're doing. Now, I want to talk about the flip side of this just a little bit. I have been involved with leaders. There's not even a fine line, but I have involved with leaders. Let me tell you something. I don't give a crap how big you are, how rich you are. I've seen this be the demise of people. Every decision you make has a positive effect and a negative effect. It has a positive effect and it has a negative effect. And what ends up happening, especially with the super successful leaders, there's this syndrome called VIP syndrome, where you won't take advice or take any type of anybody speaking into your life, called VIP syndrome. And so leaders can get to the point where they have this VIP syndrome, where that they feel like, because of success, they feel like they can move and make decisions and it's all going to all be positive. No, it ain't all positive. And every decision, it has a positive effect and it has a negative effect. And you need to be weighing those things out, because, normally the answer that pops in your head the first second is the right answer. And if you change it, it changes. But at the same time, you need to question and balance and pray about, think about, meditate, whatever your deal is, because it's going to have a negative effect. Let me give you an example. So this is crazy, but back in the day, early 20s, Blockbuster had 9,000 locations, and it had about 84,000 employees. It was huge, Blockbuster. Some people probably don't even know what it is. But anyway, Blockbuster. So this company came to them, and they were starting to invent this little box, and you could stream videos to the house through this box. And Blockbuster was so full of themselves that they're like, no, that ain't going to happen. Everybody wants to keep coming to our 9,000 stores. It's an experience and all that. And guess what? It didn't happen. Guess how many Blockbuster stores there are? 0. Because leaders that got super uber successful started thinking that their decisions were all going to have positive decisions, and this momentum, everything has a season. And what you're trying to figure out is, how do you elongate this season? If you are successful, what are you doing in a positive way to elongate this season? Because at some point in time, there's going to be a dip, right? So that's my little soapbox on that, because I've seen it happen too many times. You know, we talked about last time grit, and it's perseverance and passion for long-term goals. But I want to highly encourage leaders to do something, to have grit and discipline, but have perseverance and passion towards short-term goals. Short-term goals are the answer to the majority of success, and I'll tell you why. Because what can happen, and I've been extremely guilty of this, when you have a lot of times opportunities and things that might be coming along, or certain things that are opportunities that you could pick up and take along with you, a lot of times they are seen out of your peripheral vision. And so if you're only focused on a long distance out there, you're going to miss a lot of it. And the other thing you're going to miss is life. If you'll stay ambitious about short-term goals and be it's called micro-ambitious. Micro-ambitious means focusing on achieving small-term goals. Yes, and yes, it is important to have a 5-year plan, a year plan, and all that, but you need to have a weekly plan. You need to have a plan for your team and you for what you're going to achieve today. Normally, I made that list the day before, but micro-ambitious, to be focused on achieving, setting goals. Another thing too, just off the cuff here a little bit, it's very important to set metrics for driving people in those directions in a positive way. Driving people like to hit goals. People like my daughter. I ain't gonna lie to you guys. We have a deal. I'll bribe my kids, man. I'm just telling you straight up. I'll bribe a kid. But my daughter was like, yeah, man, I have like 4 or 5 A's and a couple of B's. I go, here's the deal. Get straight A's, I'll give you $150. I go, what's your grade in the 2 classes you're not going to have A's in? She had no idea. She had no idea what her grades were. And so I was like, okay, $150, you get to A. Every day she came home from school for the past month, she told me what her grades were in those 2 classrooms, because it was a short-term micro ambition that she was going to get there. She started communicating with the teachers. What kind of extra credit can I do? What kind of things can I do? She's going in there Friday to help the teacher clean her classroom to get extra credits. You know what I said? Great. That's called life, where you have to do additional things to get to where you want to get to. Let me tell you something in leadership too. Keep this in mind. This is parenting especially, man. But days are long and years are a minute. And when you're leading people, remember, sometimes it can be days are long, but years are a minute. And what happens in that deal is we get so ate up in what that day looks like, we forget that we will look back. The majority of us will look back at 2025 and go, damn, those were the good old days. Whether it's our health, whether it's our mental capacity, no matter what it is, you're going to look back. The majority of us are going to look back and go, damn, 2025, those were the good old days, man. So if you're going to think that 10 years from now, why would you not think that now? Why would you not think to embrace the now, to enjoy the now, to if you're going to think it's great 10 years from now, why would you not think about it down the road? Here's another one, and this is on all great leaders list, but communication. But also you got to listen. Let me tell you something, and that has to do with like sports, parenting. Part of the reason we don't listen goes back to that other deal I was talking about, is we feel like we've got all the answers. We don't have all the answers. So communicating, and I'm just telling you, I feel like the majority of the major mistakes in my life, or the majority of the major mistakes in my business career, could have been eliminated through communication. Could have been eliminated if more, I tell you, I've said this before, the level of my happiness and the level of my success comes down to the strength of my relationships. Well, relationships only happen when you're communicating. If that's a professional relationship, personal relationship, whatever it is. But to do that, you got to listen. And when you get to the point where you stop listening to people, if you'll listen to people they're going to tell you exactly what it is you need to do to solve whatever it is you need to solve. So there's also a deal that says, great people are not ones with all the answers. Great people have great questions. So the part about communicating and listening, I know it sounds super simple, but and that's something we've gotten better at our house. And sometimes, people are like, okay, we got it. But you know what? I would rather have that where everybody thinks we're over communicating a little bit than to get into a situation and go, man, if you'd have just told me, The other thing about leadership, this is in my opinion, is that training, and that comes along with because I believe that the majority of the people really do want to do things correctly. I believe that. I've been doing this a long time. I've managed people for a long time. Yeah, there is a slight number of people that are just trying to skate by, trying to scam you, but I'm telling you, I feel like, so what that comes down to is making sure that you're communicating, training, role playing, making sure, do you understand what I'm saying to you? Do you understand what was being asked of you? So that if you really invest in the people, what's going to end up happening is those people are going to do a better job. They're frustrated because they really don't, I'm telling you, they really don't feel like they've been trained. Another thing that kind of goes with training, and it goes with communication a little bit. I had this buddy one time, and he called me about something that was going on at work, and I was telling him, oh, this was jacked up, and that's jacked up, and this is jacked up. And he said, Brad, he said, the only thing that happens in your locations is what you allow to happen. Boom. Man, that hit me like a ton of bricks. I thought, he's right. And so when we started having meetings and things were going down, we just communicated to people, hey, guess what, man? Appreciate that we might have allowed that to happen in the past, but we don't allow that to happen anymore. And all of a sudden, people stopped doing it. And then as we started using it at the house, we'd have certain situations where the kids would do something. We go, hey, look, here's the deal. We don't allow that. We don't allow that in the house anymore. All of a sudden, they stopped doing it. I'll tell you another big one on that. This is something that kind of had a revelation on recently about, what kind of made me different from when I began as a leader, what made to where I am now, what makes some of the best leaders that are in my life, what makes them great leaders. And the difference in through what I've started, and I didn't realize this until just recently when I heard this, but that does differentiate great leaders from people that are struggling, is don't react. I don't care how huge the situation. Obviously, if the building's on fire, call 911, so I'm not talking about that. But the majority of the time, when somebody presents you with something, the best thing for you to do is not react. And I look back at my days when I had leaders that and mentors in my life. I look back at when I read this and thought about this. I look back and was like, this certain person, they were so calm in this situation, and I went to them, and they just, nothing rattled them. They were encouraging even in tough situations. But what I realize is by them not reacting, what they were able to do is to keep their composure. And so what they would do is, because they weren't reacting, they weren't thinking. And then when they were, presented with this, horrific or terrible situation that was going on, what they would start doing immediately is back to what I was saying earlier. So you'd come to them and go, hey, this so happened, man. We got a problem, very calmly. Okay. So tell me a couple of things more about this situation. Okay. Tell me what it is. What do you feel like the solution is? See what I'm saying? And because of that, first of all, they were perceived at a whole nother level than some people were. And secondly, because of them staying calm, they were able to come up with solutions that nobody else was able to. Because while everybody else is running around pulling their hair out, this particular person was like, okay, cool. Yeah, those kind of things happen, or that's happened a million times. And okay, well, tell me a little bit more about this particular situation. All right, what would you do if you were in my seat? How would you resolve it? And then, if it was a decent solution, go with it. If it's not, then guess what? Let's come up with another solution. You know what else I figured out too is when leading people, if you have a certain situation where you got 2 or 3 people in the room, you think you have the problem solved. To a week later, 2 weeks later, whatever the deadline was, you still have this existing problem. Guess what? Don't bring the 3 people back in the room. Now bring 6 people. Because obviously, if those 3 people and you couldn't have fixed the situation, then we need more people. So don't let your egos get in your way. That I'm telling you, there's strength in numbers. There's a reason that there's that many people on a football field. There's a reason there's 5 players on each team on a basketball team. That this is a team sport. So don't get into this siloed effect that you feel like you got to answer these all by yourself. Don't be the Wizard of Oz. Don't be the guy behind the curtain pulling the levers. It's far better and far healthier for the organization to put all the levers outside the room and have other people to begin to pull levers. And you know what? Here's what's going to happen too. People are going to like their jobs more. People are going to feel like they're in charge of their own destiny. I said this other thing one time when I did a deal on parenting, that there's a recent philosophy that I read about on parenting, and this really should be about leadership. And part of this is celebrating others and taking time to celebrate. I saw one time was with this business consulting firm, and they were like, there should be 5 accommodations in every employee's file to 1 reprimand. And that goes along with something else that I had heard in the past, that if you say 1 corrective thing to somebody, you really shouldn't say anything else corrective to them until you told them 4 things they were doing well. Now think about that for a second. So the deal about where I'm going with this is in parenting and in leadership. There was this recent, I can't remember the name of it, but there was a recent parenting style that what the parents were doing is they were only, when a child or a person in the house did something right, all they said was great job on that, great job on that, great job on that. And then if for some reason the child made a mistake, they just didn't even communicate about it. I mean, unless it's horrific, they Sharpie the sofa, obviously you're going to say something to them. But the everyday actions of the house, what they were doing though is they were kind of helping to train and helping to motivate the people in the house on positivity. And so what they were doing, after a while, the little one was like, well, dang, he didn't say good job. That's because you didn't do a good job. But the majority, if you sit around and pick them apart, you sit around and pick people apart, and all you say is all that's wrong, all the mistakes. Well, hell, normally 90% of the time, they know they made the mistake. But don't get sucked into that deal. That's something I'm telling you I really have to work on too, believe it or not. It's very easy for me to create this spreadsheet, and I start highlighting in yellow all the people that are below the minimum expectations, right? Well, I'm like, well, why am I doing that? Why am I not highlighting in green all the people that are doing well? Why am I not spending the majority of this meeting telling people that we're doing well? If you hand out this spreadsheet to everybody in the room, they immediately go to their name. They immediately go to what their metrics are, what it is they're trying to achieve. You don't have to tell them they suck. They're going to figure it out real quick. But if you spend more time encouraging people and being positive to people about what it is that they're doing well at, guess what? They start doing more things well. It goes back to that deal I was saying the other day about being thankful and being anxious about certain things. You in your life, whatever you focus on manifests. And if you're sitting around all day, taking accounting and inventorying all the blessings, all the great things in your life, guess what? The lack starts to shrink. But if you start, all you focus on is everything that you don't have, which everybody has things that they don't have, guess what? That starts to expand. Then becomes anxiety and frustration and all those other things. But if we'll really slow down, I know that's like the most cheesiest thing that you've heard in any other motivational speak, but I'll tell you this, speaking from a person of recent experience, gratitude heals all. Gratitude heals all. Gratitude is like home base. So, but anyway, going back to the whole deal about if you want people to be, I will tell you this too. If you are in a situation where this that I'm talking about, you're like, I don't know, Brad, it could be important. Let me tell you, whatever culture is going on in your business, if you have a situation where your business is interacting with the public, I don't give a crap if it's on the phone, face to face, you're sending reps out in the field, whatever culture is happening at your home headquarters is the same culture that's going to happen outside of your walls. So that's why it's so important too. But I'm telling you, happy people sell more. Happy people produce more. Happy people stay longer. It's not that hard. So anyway, that's a huge deal of leadership. That kind of just hit me while I was sitting here visiting with you about this deal. Other thing too is don't get sucked into this whatever it is you're doing. Yes, you're a leader. Yes, it's important. I'm telling you, I was in sales, wasn't that great at it till I had one child. Then I got better. I had 2 children, and now I come home at night after work, and now there's my wife and 2 children, so there's 6 eyeballs looking at me, and I'm the only one bringing in money. My ass started selling more, so yes, that is, but also at the same time, your job is not necessarily your identity. It is not who you are. You're not defined by success. You're not defined by failure. And we've talked about that before, is those moments that sometimes are not, like I was saying, a day, especially a bad day, it can be an eternity and years or a minute. But I'm telling you, I had this friend one time. I was the first time I opened a large store, and this guy called me out of nowhere and was asking me how I was doing. I was, breathing into a paper bag. He goes, Brad, you do realize that this is probably the most exciting time of your life. He said, once you get this store up and running, it will not be as exciting it is when you're opening it. So keep that in mind. I understand. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm just saying, if you look back, you will remember these days just as well as the bad days. So back to as many as I can remember here. Make sure you stay faithful, discipline, micro ambitious. Days are long, years are short. Embrace the now. Training. Make sure you're training people. When I say training, communicate. Make sure you're celebrating people. These are just the basic things that are sometimes a little bit different that you might not hear from somebody else. But I'm telling you, pick up 4 or 5 of these things you're not doing now, you will be, the last one, don't react. I was terrible at that when I was younger, but I'm telling you, as I didn't even realize it till I look back on this when I was starting to put together this podcast. As I look back on this deal, when people were probably following me to a stronger degree, was the less I reacted, the more positive other people reacted. So anyway, hope these all are helpful to you all. You all have a great day and be real.